Hello everyone, good evening. I'm Ratnesh Kumar. I'm working here in the Mobile department. Mobile is a mobile app builder that we use to develop e-commerce applications. We just created e-commerce applications for the many leading platforms, e-commerce platforms. That's Magento, Shop, OpenCart, and CSCart, and we are still counting. So today we are going to watch a movie that is MSG. Yeah, what about this? I'm just joking. We are not going to watch a movie MSG. We are just going to talk about a messenger. Not messenger of what? Just a messenger of resources. So let's narrate a story of an unsung hero. As we all know, we are living in an era of technology where each and every devices are connected. From desktop to devices, mobile devices to browser to laptops, each and every devices are connected. Using these devices, we are buying products, we are posting our posts, we are watching movies and doing these types of tasks. But how these tasks can work? How data transfer from one device to another? How different devices can interact with each other? Behind all this, there is an unsung hero which we are going to discuss about today. That is API. API stands for Application Programming Interface. In simple words, we can say that API is kind of messenger which travels data from one device to another, or we can say that client to server. In simple language, you can say that API is simply exposing your business capabilities of web services over the internet. We can take an example of, let's say, any weather website which are displaying the current temperature of the city. You just fetch out that API. They are providing any API, and using those you can get the current temperature of the city. So this is the web service that is provided by weather website that you can access from any device, whether it's a laptop, it's a website, or any mobile application. This is kind of website that by using API you can access to get the data. Or API consists of set of rules describing how one application can interact with each other, and also a mechanism that how these steps can occur. Let's take an example of XYZ restaurant to understand what API is in simple language. Here we are taking part of three entities. First one is customer, another one is kitchen. As I have written over here, customer as a client, kitchen as a server, and waiter who is working as a messenger between them. We are calling it as an API. When you go to a restaurant, the waiter comes to you and takes your order. And then waiter tells the kitchen, that is server, that what you have ordered. Then kitchen process your data, or in this case food, and send it back via waiter to you. This is the transfer of data. What the API is doing. API takes data from one place to another and then serves back to you. This is the simple architecture. What is API and how it works? So there are many ways to access web services. As I have already mentioned, there are two ways I have mentioned. There are many one, but we are going to explain only two. The first one is SOAP, or Simple Object Access Protocol, and the another one is Representational State Transfer Protocol. So let's talk about each of them one by one. So as I mentioned, the granddaddy of web services. I have mentioned it as a granddaddy because it's a very old protocol. In about 1998, it is discovered by Microsoft to do the same thing, transfer data from one device to another. There are a few features what makes SOAP capable of doing all this transfer. The first one is XML-based messaging protocol. What is XML? XML just is a we can say a data holder that is easily capable to travel data from one place to another or one device to another. It's not any language or scripting language, it's just a folder of data. So SOAP uses this XML files in which the data contains and travel over the net and serves to the server. The next one is platform and language independent. We are called SOAP as a platform and language independent because as you people know, these days you are using Facebook app. Facebook app might work on your web browser or iOS device or Android device, but the server of the Facebook is working on PHP. So, as you all know, the code is executing on the PHP. So you know your client is on a different language and platform, and your server is different language and platform. So can make it capable to communicate with both devices, because SOAP is irrelevant of platform and language. Next point is SOAP has built-in stateful operation. That means when one device interacts with another device, the operation just happened between them is stateful. And what is stateful? As I can take a reference of when you log into any e-commerce website, you visit your dashboard or you visit your account information. When you put these two requests to the server, the request knows that all these requests came from the same client. This is maintaining a state by the server. This is called statefulness of operation, and SOAP provides this operation. It's in the nature of SOAP. The next point is SOAP is complex yet well formatted. I'm calling it as complex because when you trying to create a new SOAP API, then you need to write many documentation before while the creation of the SOAP API. You have to create few XML in which you define what will be the input of the API, what will be the output of the API, what parameters it's going to accept, and what parameter it's going to return in the result. And yet well formatted, because you are going to write this thing so that any developer can easily read what this API is going to do and easily extend it or use it. Next is REST, or representational state transfer protocol. The easy way to expose your web services. REST plus JSON. It means it is doing the same task that SOAP do, but it is easy to implement and easy to understand, because as we all know, these days only REST APIs, major platforms like Instagram, Facebook, they all are using REST APIs to provide their data over the internet. And what is JSON? As I already explained, that XML is a kind of data folder that is capable of transferring data from one device to another. In the same way, JSON is also, we can call it as a data folder, but it is not in the form of JSON. And obviously, it's very obvious that XML is a file. So processing XML at any device, either it's client or it's server, we need a parser to parse the XML file and then get the data information that is hiding inside. But in JSON format, we don't need any parser. We just going to convert it in the array format and just fetching the data from the JSON. That's why using REST is more light than SOAP, and that's the major reason we are all the modern application using REST plus JSON to perform any data transfer over the internet. There are many features of the REST API. The first one is REST perform all the thread operations over the HTTP request. What are thread operations? It simply create, read, update, and delete. All the operations that REST perform is over the HTTP protocol. So the next one is REST is naturally stateless. As I've already mentioned, what is statefulness? The opposite is stateless. That means server for the server, each and every request is new for them. It don't know that the current request is coming from the previous client or not. This is stateless. But we can create a statefulness of the API, but it's naturally stateless. We have to do some extra work to make REST API stateful. The next point is REST is easy to understand. As I've already mentioned, you have to write many XML before while creating API of the scope. But in REST, you don't need to write too many XML. You just need to write your business logic, a small amount of XML, and you can ready to use your REST API. Here is example. I'm taking of the ABC flight website. In this scenario, let's say you are going to a website. You are filling the form required information, that your source, your destination, your date, your time, and it requests the ABC server and fetch out all the flight information and show it to you. In this scenario, if ABC Flight provides the API, what are the benefits that it is going to have? We are going to see in the next slide. Here is an application, flight aggregator or any portal website that fetches data. It fetches data from the many flight servers like yellow server, red server, blue server. When you fill the form in this app, then it fetches information from all the data simultaneously and show you the result. This is the power of API, that at the same time you can fetch data from many servers. If they are not providing this API, then you cannot perform this task. This is the power of API. So, what are the benefits and what are the benefits of the API and why we should implement API while creating your architecture of your website? The first point is it helps making money. We are going to take example of eBay. As we all know that eBay is a marketplace where a customer can act as a seller and sell their own products. So in the beginning, eBay is not providing the APIs. So being a seller is kind of clumsy task. After some time, eBay provides the APIs so that sellers can upload their products from their remote area, and they will get know what are the products their products just get sold. This is the power of API, that any seller who is not capable of creating their whole website, they can use eBay website and being a seller and being a merchant and create revenue. This is the power of API that helps you making money. Second point is it helps you saving money. I'm taking example of AWS. As you all know, it's the full form of AWS, Amazon Web Services. That's a part of Amazon.com. It is a web cloud service that provides servers to serve your website. As you all know what is AWS maybe. It is the basic definition of what basic functionality of what AWS does. So, how API helps you saving money? As you all know, when you take a server and buy a server instance from AWS, they provide some APIs. What these APIs do? By using these APIs, you can shut down system at any time, or you can restart the system at any time. As you might know that AWS is charging you by the time, how much time you are going to use your server. The amount of time you use your server, you have to pay accordingly. So, while development of the website, you might create a development server, you can have a test server. When all the testing are done on your test server, you can remotely shut down that and move your data to the live server and then run your code. This is the power of API. You can do it all this operation, shut down and restart of your server instance remotely. Next example is Google Maps. It helps building brand. How Google Maps use APIs to help, how it helps Google to build the brand. As you all know, Google Maps provide their map API, so that as we all know that Ola and Uber are using their APIs to generate revenue. In this way, Google is not charging too much to the Ola and user, but still it provides opportunity to the to other clients that they can also earn money. This is the power of the API. The next is move to cloud. Shopify is also an e-commerce cloud-based e-commerce application on which you can create your products and sell the products cloud-based. In this scenario, as you know, when you have to build an e-commerce store, you have to set up a Magento or any popular platform, and you have to manually do all these things. But Shopify provides all the APIs, like to upload products, edit products, to manage customers. So by using these APIs of Shopify, you can remotely do all these things. And omnipresence. Netflix is the best example of omnipresence. By API, Netflix also started in the 1998 around. At that time, they just sold video CDs or video cassettes. Their business is limited to a small area. But after some time, 3 or 4 years, they are providing API. What are the benefits they are getting by providing APIs? Is any of the application now, developers use their APIs to develop any kind of application, like on TV, on mobile devices, on web services, on web browser. So Netflix is in the business of it's the most biggest actor in the world of entertainment. So it provides these days they're providing videos online. So by using their APIs, you can build application that can run on your TV, on your mobile device, on your laptops. So these are the benefits you can see of the APIs. So why we need API? I have already explained the benefits of in the little meaning. We can read it. We need to have a web API if we want to store and process our data in server and let other applications like the application ID device or any mobile devices request and get the data at any time. So the biggest question is, are the APIs safe? I just said that it works on HTTP request, so that it might possible that anyone can hit the URL and get the data. So yes, API is safe, but how it's safe? When you create an API, you have to think of authentication before, because if there is no authentication, your data is not secure. In this era of technology, anyone can hack your website or misuse your data that you are going to serve by the API. So there are many kinds of authentication. I'm going to discuss only 2 authentication process. The first one is basic access authentication, and the another one is OAuth authentication. So let's discuss what is basic authentication. Here is a diagram where I'm going to explain how basic authentication occurs. Here's a client and here's a server. The client requests for a product to server. Then server again asks for username and password. The client provides the username and password. After verifying it by the server is providing and returning the request of the resources that client asks. This is the basic access authentication and how it works. Why I am calling it basic? Because your username is password over the internet, and that is also not too much secure. And here comes the role of OAuth, that is very secure, and each and every latest technology platforms like Instagram, Facebook and other websites are using OAuth to secure their APIs. Here is how OAuth works. Here is a client or browser, here is a user, any user, and here is the server. Let's take in mind the example of Facebook. When you log into a server, log into the Facebook server via browser, then what are the processes that are going to, not exactly the login process, when you are accessing any data on the behalf of some other, like you have created any website and you want to display all the likes of your pages on the Facebook, then how anyone can see your likes from the Facebook? These are the authentication process that occur in between. Let's understand more. When a user, the first point is original resource request for resources. When a user requests resources, point number one, when a user requests resources via browser, then browser sends a request to the server. In the second point, redirects to the server for authorization. The third point is the server asks the user response in form of server domain, asking resource owners to authenticate. It is asking the user that is he authenticate to access the data. Then user responds back to the server with the authentication that is he authentic or not. Then the server again sends back to the server issue a token to the client, and the client confirms the access and he will get the data. This is the whole OAuth how it works. If you have any doubt, we will discuss it later after the talk. I'll explain it better in the better. So, how to build an API in Magento 1? We are going to explain some coding part that how we can create API in Magento 1. First one, create SOAP API in Magento 1. There are 3 files that are required to create SOAP APIs in the Magento 1. The first one is api.xml that resides in app code, your code, tool namespace, module name, etc. api.xml. What it contains? It contains all the resources of the API, like when someone hits the API, which function is going to call, and where it resides in your application. The second one is WSDL XML. It defines all the inputs and outputs of any API. That any API is accepting how many arguments, what are the keywords of the argument, and what are the data types of argument, and same in the response type. And the third one is your logic file that resides in app code, tool names, model API.php. Here is your function that you define in the API.xml and where you can write your code. The next part is create REST API in Magento 1. How we can do it? To create REST APIs, we need only 2 files. The first one is api2.xml that places here namespace etc api2.xml, and it contains only which function you are going to call. That's it. No resources, no response. It never defines what are the resources. That all depends on the function and your logic part. The second one is your logic part. This logic part contains what are the resources that you are going to use, and what are the arguments that are coming along with the request, and what are the responses he is going. API and server knows what are the arguments. There is no need to define in the XML file. Let's have a look on how create a REST and SOAP API in Magento. To create Magento REST and SOAP APIs, both of them following the same pattern. You just need one XML file and your logic file. The first one is REST API.xml that resides here. It contains all the information that what will be the arguments, parameters, what will be the return resources, and what are the functions that is going to call when someone is trying to access the API. And the second part is your API file. Only these 2 files are needed to create your API along with your module file. Next is a code part. This is the web API.xml. Here you can create your root or URI. v1 / your module name. You are going to create what will be the method, post, get, put, delete, these type of methods. And next one is your logic file. Namespace, module, API, your API file. And this is the method name. Here you will have to mention your method name that is going to call. So what will be your URL? The first one is your domain name, then your URI that you define here, method, that we mentioned in the XML file, and from the XML file the API knows which method it's going to call. And this is your functionality. This is your function where you have applied your logic.